Hi everyone. Today I have decided to wrap up the last video or the knowledge series, although it's not the last. But for now, if there are any more questions, please email me the questions so that I can build up sufficient questions to answer. What I will be addressing are the next parts of the question which most of you have sent to me. And first of all, I want to say thank you for your support, as you have been giving a lot of support and asking a lot of questions. This information is quite specific because it is related to the spirit within ourselves and our relationship with Great Spirit as a supreme presence in our universe, as well as then being present through us within this reality, and our transitioning or our transferring ourselves into a third reality or third creation is very important, and I'll just briefly touch on that. This third creation, as I've mentioned in previous videos, and I've been hinting a lot about it, and I've been giving as much as I could to explain as it has been given to me, because the information comes to me as it comes to you. When you hear me speak about it, it has already started to accumulate within my conscious thoughts, within my spirit, within me. And in the same process, you will be starting to feel information coming to you. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is when you listen to these videos, when I discuss the information on the knowledge itself, it is not something that you have to work on to try and understand literally. It is something that you have to understand on an inner process within yourself. So this is what I always say. Play the video, go somewhere, listen to it in the background. It'll come to you as it is meant to reveal to you in process. And always trust within your personal process in exploring this information. It is exceptionally old. It is very powerful. It has been interfered with for so long. And this is the whole reason why I had decided to, well, ask you to ask me questions, so that when there are more of us present and asking and communicating through the information, that is when the information starts to flow. So in other words, you are important to the process of the growth of Great Spirit, just as you speak it with your friends and your family and those who you love. This is not about removing the belief or your religious roots that you are operating in or that you are still within. It is not about shutting all of that down. What it's about, in a nutshell, is really to pay attention to what is inside of you first. So switch where you would normally go and look at things from the outside or read a book, is what I would consider as an example of perusing information on the outside. If you do that, then pay attention to how you are feeling within yourself, how your higher self feels towards the information. Sometimes you may feel emotional. Sometimes you may feel angry. Sometimes you may feel doubtful. Then stop. You don't have to carry on listening to it. Just stop and return to it again. It is part of how I have learned from within myself. Build a relationship with who you are for you. Start to take notice of who you are, how you react personally towards things. Is this part of your personality? Is this part of your spirit? How do you feel when things happen around you? How do you take it to heart? So essentially, that is why I'm saying work on the relationship within yourself. Spirit is present within and is revealed out of words, communication, and action. And remember that your soul is not your spirit. Your soul is a temporary world wanderer, or the anima mundi. And that element is part of the interface, or the user interface, if you want to use those words, with this world. It has a personality because it is inherently a personality, or a part of the spirit personality itself coming through. So I'm leaving that with you, and I have drafted the questions down here, so I will be reading them as I do as always. And you have asked the origins and validity or non-validity of the Bible. And my answer to you is the origins of the Bible as a whole was originally scripted based on encounters of mystical and philosophical and emotional and spiritual and mental experiences. The same way as you would then find, for example, the Torah or the Talmud or any other book that you would find that has references of mystical encounters. And so therefore the information that is written in there is the author's personal experience. What you see in it, you may even find, for example, in any other book that you could read. It could even be a story that someone wrote. So in other words, what I'm saying to you is it ties into why I said you have to start building a relationship with yourself. You as yourself, as the vessel of the spirit within. And based on that process, that is what then you will be able to look at any book. You can look at the autobiography of a yogi. You can look at the book, the Tibetan Book of the Living and Dying. You know what I'm saying? For example, and you can find information in there that could correlate and add to your journey in exploring to learn who you are. So I'm not going to say it is valid or not. I'm going to say it is relevant to, if it is relevant to your process in learning where you are, then yes, it is relevant to you. I hope that answers your question. You asked, transition out of this plane, the death and dying process. I said I will answer you in this way. So it's very important to understand why I said it, why I said you have to learn to start building a relationship with yourself. In other words, you are not the definition of how another person sees you. You are not defined by that person's view. You are defined by how you feel and how you are and how you behave within yourself. So that if someone comes along and they say, they speak in hypnotic words and things to confuse your mind, that you will always know who you are, and that you know that that is inherently not a moral thing that relates to your moral code. So relationship with the self defines as well the death or the physical transitioning process of your form, of your life form, of you. There are dynamics that one has to follow or that one will encounter, and these dynamics I have also explored. I have had near-death experiences, a few of those. Some were accidental and others were induced to test. Like I said, I'm my own guinea pig. And while I was doing all of that, I was trusting at any given point that I'm shown to up to how far one can explore. And then, of course, the presence of spirit person as well. So this is why I don't refer to people who have died as ghosts or spirits. I call them spirit people, because you are now in your spirit form. It is disrespectful to refer to your nearest and dearest as the ghost Okay, you remove then their personal relationship that you have with them, and that brings to you that may give you perhaps fear as such. But that is why I'm saying learn to explore and understand. Do research. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but it is important for you to understand that if the spirit of your grandfather comes to you, that person was always your grandfather and doesn't come there now to come and haunt you or give you or make you afraid. It's the same person. And the same way as if you had a terrible encounter with a landlord who was a pig in life, he will be a pig when he's dead. It's the same thing. So we don't change, or the people in spirit form do not change and become some magnificent mystical guide that'll give you insight into where to go either. If you were psychic in your physical form while you were alive, then you will still be psychic when you have passed on into spirit form. The actual spirit process changes with the relationship you have within yourself. In other words, the belief that if you believe you will get swallowed up by this giant light that is like bright and blinds you and sings angelic choirs to you, if that is something, this is again not meant in any derogatory way, but this is related to your experience in your life. The knowledge process in this information suggests that you have to start somewhere. If you want to start somewhere, start within first. And once you start from within first, you will understand that you will then, as you gradually grow through encountering knowledge and communicating with people and asking questions and reading and researching and learning how to write your dreams down, for example, or you take note that there's synchronicities around you. These are all elements that are related to your experience. Okay, so if you physically pass out of your form, there will be, and this is a given, expect this. This is now relayed to me from many people who have passed on as well, many people that have been, who are not friends of mine, who are random strangers, because I do a lot of reading work. I do a lot of counsel work with people who have passed on as well. It's not called mediumship. It is called, I'm just a messenger, really. That there's nothing more than that. And I will keep it as simple as that. So the information that they often tell me is that they find that during their time of process of dying, if it was in a crisis state, and I have discussed this information at length in the previous knowledge video, but I said I will go into a little bit more detail for you to understand, suggests that if you had stress when you passed on, the chance for you to be out of that stress is almost immediate. So whether it was trauma related, or if it was you were sick, or if you had drowned, or anything that is like immediate, the process for you to be out of your form is immediate. You are immediately outside of that experience. Then what happens though is you are then reviewing that experience, how you handled it, how you were before you handled that, how you were before you got sick. So you have the replay of your life as you are physiologically transitioning out of your life form. Your soul is becoming absorbed by your spirit. Okay? Then you encounter this light. You can encounter this light by choice, or you can decide to encounter the other side of the light, which is a softer womb-like color light. It is normally a very soft understated presence of light. That is the calmness. Essentially, you'll find some that you know that will perhaps have gone into that reality, into that process, and others that may have come from the actual bright white light itself. You have a choice after you have passed on. You still have a choice. And that is part, as I said to you, what you believe as you are existing in this reality. So your encounter then with this light, if you are concerned that there is a process that there will be some that will come and nab you. I know that in there used to be information on this particular process where I think it was written by David Icke. Saying that there were mechanisms in the moon that would swallow you up and process you in a machine. Where he derived that information from, I am not going to contest. I'm not going to explore that because that is secondhand information. My personal experience, I can tell you, I have not encountered any of that at all. It is not in my belief to be trapped when I leave my form. Therefore, I will not be trapped when I'm out of my form. If you understand what I'm saying, you work on that. If you do physically leave your form, the physiological process shows or suggests that you would leave from out of your navel. Your soul would come out of your navel. Some might leave out from behind. So there are these portals in your form. Some call them chakras. I would call them energy portals. And they are there to ascertain your soul, to understand what it is experiencing in this reality. So it depends on your knowledge and what you know and how you feel. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Like I've said, I have discussed this particular part in great detail in the previous videos. Should it come up, there is nothing more than what the information suggests. That is just basically a very rudimentary way of explaining to you the dynamics that you will experience once you pass. Okay, my perspectives on Kundalini. And Kundalini, for those who do not know what Kundalini is, the Kundalini is based on an energetic charge that rises from the base of the spine all the way up to the top of the conscious thoughts. It is Eastern philosophy based. Western philosophy has obviously taken aspects of it and have been working with that as well. So basically it is energy wrapping around the spine from behind. It can create physiological displacement. It can make you feel emotionally that you are out of place with yourself. You might be caught off guard. It must never be done without proper training. I would not suggest that you do it or that you don't do it. I'm not going to tell you to do it or don't do it. It's the same as saying to you, I'm my own guinea pig. Don't do what I do, or do what you want. So it is your free will. You will always have your free will. The information that I'm sharing with you are, as I've said to you, based on my personal experiences. So Kundalini, I would suggest, is something that you have to research really well. If you're going to be exercising that practice, then do it with someone that you trust, as it can create a physiological displacement within your consciousness, and you could feel like you're out of sorts for some time. Can it happen spontaneously? Yes, it can, depending on what you're going through. No, it is not related to ascension. And I've discussed to those again before that ascension does not exist. There is not one day that's going to happen and everybody's going to ascend. That is not possible. We ascend as we learn every day, even as we speak. We are ascending and descending. We are doing that all the time. We are in a sine wave. That is a better way of understanding. For those who think that there is a timeline related to the end of the world or the apocalypse day, those are people who believe very strongly in linear time. Linear time is one straight line. In other words, it is the time that is related to the material reality, the shelf life that a material that matter has when you interact with it. So in other words, the apple is going to go rotten within so many days. That is a linear time process. How we think, how we operate, how we speak, how we exist, how we communicate, Great Spirit within as well as I am within Great Spirit, that process, that is spatial time. In other words, it is time in a multidimensional level that you're looking at. I hope that makes sense. You asked me my perspectives on implants. Some say we have negative implants on the third eye, solar plexus, and root chakras. True or false? My answer to you is implants can be energetic or physical. Implants placed in certain sacred centers in the body can happen, does not necessarily have to be there anymore. Implants go along with military abduction or my lab experiences, which are related to going through a physiological experience as you sleep in your deepest sleep, where you may encounter sleep paralysis, where you are dreaming or experiencing an alien coming to visit you and implanting things into you. If you have not had that done to you and you think about it and you feel, it doesn't feel familiar to me, or it feels weird, then that is not anything that you need to be concerned about. If you feel that you did experience something like that, then I would suggest that you explore why and how this has happened, and whether at some point in your life that you may have experienced the process or trauma of a particular event. It is important to understand that there are two videos that I've done. I've had interviews done with people that were interviewing me, Polish interviewers, where I was talking about my military abduction experience with the super soldier aspect, which is something that is based on a psychological programming that makes you prepare your psychic senses. Okay, so let me put it this way. Certain military organizations have the ability to track people with psychic abilities. They hunt them down. And once they're able to hunt them down, they then start to terrorize them through people, through things around them. They project voice to skull things to them. They become distressed about that. I've had experiences like that as a child, given that my family had a very strong military police background. I won't go into too much detail there. You could say when there's some sort of psychic spy work that was there at some point as well, where they then come to try and interfere with you on a conscious level and a subconscious level, so that you are pretty much used by them to do what they want you to do. And the interviewers, that video is terrible sound quality, but what I will basically say is my experience was I didn't do it voluntarily. They track you and then they get you, but it does happen when your parents have been involved in that particular industry. And through their contracts that they have with their superiors, when they have to go on certain missions or whatever you want to call it, there is always an agreement that, you know, for love of country and everything that I own belongs to the state, right? You get that sort of contract thing. So then naturally the child who happens to be psychic or whatever is then the next target, because they are always looking for young blood. Now, I was involved in it for a very long time, and I managed to break myself out of that. I wanted to get out of that. I found that I was fighting interference on almost a daily basis of my life for many years. And so with that, implants do happen where you are sometimes also physiologically moved out of your home and into another institute. That can happen. That is called biolocation, when you're taken out of the house and you're put somewhere else, and you have no idea how you have lost time. You have no idea what it is that you've experienced, but you feel that you've missed something out. You're feeling completely disassociated from yourself. That is why I'm saying, before that started, I'd already had it in my sense to know who I am, to have wanted to explore and understand the deepest nature of Great Spirit within me. And that, I can tell you for a fact, is what had helped me to to parry myself in those situations. I was also involved in timeline jumping, to put it like that. I'm going to just tell you, because it is on the public, on my videos, but that is not what has given me the information that I have. I have always had the knowledge within me. It's like, for example, you know, you're used to working at a particular place, and then next minute you decide to take a taxi, or the taxi picks you up, or you take a bus, or you get a lift from someone, and the route to the place that you work is not the same route that you would normally take. And then you try to find your way all the way back again, and then and then the route goes on. So based on that, it can happen by way of your parents or people in your family or in your bloodline, where there was an agreement that the children will be taken or used to do things, you know. So the time jumping thing is also very important, very interesting actually, because of the ability of the particular psychic ability that you have. And so I'm not going to go into details there. Implants, yes, remove them. Remove them in your thoughts. Implants can be energetic. Attachments can be energetic. Remove them in your thoughts, and they will be removed from out of your vessel. If they are physically in your body, then you must go and get it removed by some doctor, by anyone that you trust, or remove them yourself. The fear around these things come from a lot of mainstream and whistleblower information, which are also very strongly related to PSYOP, to trigger the person who wants to escape that particular program. When they have interviews with people saying, oh no, I tried to get it removed and then I just almost died, you know, that sort of thing. So there's also a lot of encounters of that particular experience where people had deliberately done the interviews to create a scare or a fear to the person who was trapped in the super soldier program. And as I said, let me put it this way. South Africa has had a very strong program running from as early as the 70s until the latest about 2000. That is how long they've been running that particular program, where they literally look for children in school records who display certain behaviors, and then those children are marked. When I was in primary school, and the teachers had decided to have people with white lab coats come and take blood samples of the children. There was no permission given. It just happened one day. And from there on, that's where stuff started, literally. So I have a full encounter detail experience of every single thing that has happened in their industry and the people that they used to create agents, out of how they create agents, all of that. But I've managed to bring to escape that, to leave it, to step out of it, and that had to be done through a revocation of the contract. That not just me, I had to revoke the contract of myself being subjected to the contract that my parents and those before them had agreed to. So I had to literally remove myself out of that, because they cannot do anything with you unless you have agreed to it. Don't forget that. It's very important. So I explained the information about ice and fire. I explained it in the previous video, and I'd suggested that you please look at the other video that I had made where I spoke about psychic protection, where I explain what ice and fire does. And so I said to you as well that the knowledge is based on the spirit, and the spirit requires whatever works to clear or do or make or change the situation that you're in. Okay, so if there's anyone that's interested to try and understand the information about MK Ultra, implants, MyLab abductions, or anything like that, there's a very good friend of mine on my website. Her name is Eve Lorgan. I would suggest you please watch her material. Her website is on my website, her address and all of that. And you can always tell her that I have referred you to her if you are curious to know. But please do research and don't fall for any particular material that comes out just randomly about these things. I would suggest that on a personal encounter, verbatim, as truthful as I've experienced it, my videos are my personal experience, and just because of what I had said and what I experienced does not mean that you will or you could at all. As I said, that was a contract that was done by agreeing that you would lay down your life for your country. That contract is very, very important. You have to revoke that contract and you will be free from their control. Okay. On the next question, so how do you dissolve implants? As I've said, in numerous ways. You can revoke the contract from it on a psychic level. Ice and fire. Okay, implants, just to wrap it up, implants are elemental or apparitional, so they could have a physical manifestation, or they could be an apparition or related to that which is on a psychic level. Then I would call those attachments. Okay, so next question, you asked me how do I interpret ancestors. Also a very good question. So I interpret ancestors as part of the same group of spirit beings. There shouldn't be a distinction made where you refer to ancestors and then people of the spirit. They're all the same. Based on your tradition of how you believe, if you believe that your ancestors are not related to you on a physical level, then you cannot then refer to them as your ancestors. If they are part of your family, then they are your family. And so your ancestral family line are all connected into the spirit, the greater spirit. So that is where they would be, and that is where they would come from, and that is why they would come to visit you. I know of encounters where some people have mentioned that they have encountered their ancestor coming to visit them to tell them about something very important. That is why I'm saying the ancestral the person who is labeled as the ancestor is your family. Like your uncle or your grandfather would come and tell you, listen, don't go out today in a dream. The cars are all over the place. There's an accident going to happen. And you will then listen. Spirit speaks to spirit. That is what I'm trying to explain. If there's malevolent presence, if you are referring to try to understand or differentiate what happens to a person when he was an evil person, and he had connection to his spirit, and then I'm going to tell you that it is not possible for an evil person to be connected to their spirit. Because if that was the case, then that person would not have been evil. If you are aware of your spirit and you are connected, as I've said, to your heart, your spirit sits right behind your heart. Your heart is the Garden of Eden, or the foundation to explain things, or the table, or the round table, or whatever you want to call it. It is the place where your spirit talks, communicates to the soul. Okay, that is what you need to understand. And you are all of that in one form. You are in balance. If you are connecting in that form, the chances for you to become evil is like practically zero. Okay. If you are unaware of your spirit and you behave like an evil person, then your spirit will judge you. You will be judged by your own spirit, and you will then not have the chance to be able to then transition into the greater form of great spirit. So your judgment will declare you to not move forward until you have declared or cleared yourself and have made peace with who you are. So that is based on natural laws, which I will be discussing, and I will break it down as was suggested, the understanding of the natural laws. Okay. Next question. There's a belief that most African people or people from Africa come from Nubia or have an Egyptian heritage. That is a really good question. I was waiting for that question to come up. So in order for me to explain this, I need to tell you that all races, as we speak of them, are called root races. Root races are all interlinked into each other. This is not related to the physiological appearance, such as the skin color or the tone or anything like that. A root race is a group of humans that have existed at a particular time during the creational period. Okay, so we know that we understand that creation started within the first creation, where it was void, and that there were 3 other root races that existed in that time. What I want to bring to you now is the second creation, the one that we are in, on the border of the first creation to the second one. The people from Africa had existed at that point in time. If you're asking Egyptian people come through as the 4th root race. The 4th root race is also referred to the Atlanteans. Okay, so Egypt was never Egypt. Egypt didn't just exist. Boom, there's Egypt. Egypt was formulated after the builders of Atlantis had fallen, had collapsed after that crash. The 4th root race is very important to understand, that they are related to the ones that we are dealing with right now. Okay, and you will see how this information ties into the next body of work, which I would be discussing about the bending of the light. And I will be bringing that in shortly. So what I want to say to you is, so you are not related to them. They are actually not even related to you. They are there, that they have tried to incorporate your gifts for themselves. So in other words, you as a third root race, people from Africa or people from African descent, have existed prior to Egypt, prior to Atlantis. Your psychology and your soul lessons and your contracts that you had to work with in relation to your experience as the root race itself was to understand that you are able to work on a balance within the emotional levels. Whereas the fourth root race, which is the Atlanteans, had tried to incorporate your gifts. They are related to the first one. I'm talking about the fourth root race is related to the ones that exist in the first creation, in the void. Okay. I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand that people from African descent are not related to Egyptians at all. Please do not let that ever come into your conscious thoughts. Let that not be part of your belief. You have existed in your whole unique existence and perspective to your relationship with the reality around you as a unique group of people. And the Atlanteans in the same capacity, except they are the ones that had the fall, right? So, and that is also, again, let me just explain to you again, to be called a root race is not related to the color of your skin. You can have a group of people that have existed in, this is why I'm saying, the people from Africa. I think when you asked me the question, you didn't exactly know how to ask. So I'm telling you, you are part of the third root race. Okay? That is where you are. Africa is full of many root races, because when Atlantis fell, all the races that had accumulated there had scattered all over the world. So you will find multiple root races all over the world in different degrees of development. Okay. So the movie that they had made, I think it was, let me just think about it now. I think it was Black Panther, I'm not sure, I think it was Marvel movie. It is false, okay? It is based on what they wanted to project into this reality. I hope this answers your question. Okay, next question. You asked me, what is the afterlife? The afterlife is the reality that you believe you will have while you're alive, and which you will key into once you have physically passed on. It is related to going into the womb or your choices that you decide to have. You asked me, what is reincarnation? Reincarnation is the process of coming back and living in a new vessel to continue your journey. Okay, that was basically it. What is mind control? Last question. What is mind control? Mind control is a repeated breaking down process of the mental cognitive state of your existence. So if you're constantly being given something to do and it goes against your grain of thought, and you are then slowly but surely being chipped away and you are mind controlled. Again, it is a choice to agree to that contract. I hope this has answered your questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for asking these questions. I like the thing about the root race. I think that's something that I will discuss further on, much later. it definitely is something that we should consider, given that we are existing within this reality. We need to know the root races itself, but I need to find the material to come to me before I can actually bring it to you. This is also why my videos are as timely as they are. There is a time, not the same linear time, but the time comes as it comes. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your questions. This concludes the knowledge part of 3. And please, if there are any more questions that come after this, please ask in the section below your questions, or email it to me so that I can start building on the next one, should there be more questions. I will, I appreciate your questions very much. It's remarkable that we are in communication in such a unique way, and I'm sending you much love. Thank you. Bye.